In this hands-on workshop, what Adrian and I are going to do together is really create a fictitious yoga website with a homepage, a contact form, a blog, and even an online store. And in the end, you'll even be able to book your yoga session online from among our classes. At your own risk though, because we're not yoga experts. I'm sure you'll understand. Conclusion. And we're not going to do all this with WordPress, but with Infomaniac's brand new website creation tool, Site Creator. And you'll see, it's really very easy. And we hope you'll have a great time too. We're going to put some fun into this webinar.
In concrete terms, we're going to present the site we're going to use as an example for this webinar, because what we really wanted to show during this webinar is how easy and above all how fast Site Creator can be. So before the webinar, we created a fictitious yoga site called Kyoga. We were quite imaginative, and it's a site that we created with my colleague Thomas in the space of 30 minutes, an hour maximum, on which we really put ourselves in the shoes of someone opening a center or an independent activity. And we were really inspired by customer feedback, especially the feedback we got before we launched Site Creator. Because the request, let's say, quite frequent from WordPress users or others, was, I'm looking for something that requires very little maintenance, very little intention, and above all, that I can set up easily. Now, with WordPress, you still needed certain computer skills, whether it was to set it up, to install it, if you'd sent it out with quick installers. But here we've really moved on to the next stage, where someone with really zero knowledge of code can make a site like this in really very little time. We'll talk about it later, but it's a website that's properly referenced, and above all, one that doesn't require any maintenance work afterwards. In other words, Infomaniac takes care of updating and security, and for the user it's really transparent, whereas with a WordPress, you have to update the WordPress, you have to make sure that the plugins are updated, and in the end, a lot of people call in a professional, and Site Creator short-circuits this step and in fact allows any freelancer, any person, let's say, even people with no computer knowledge, to get started in all simplicity.
And that's what I said at the beginning. So here we have a home page with all the important elements for a website. We've got a blog page. Maybe I'll let you show us what that looks like, and a shop page, because obviously, like any good yoga studio, we also have accessories to offer you. And now let's see how it works. How do we make this site? And we're really starting from scratch.
Exactly. So this is our sample environment. We're putting it aside for the moment. And now we're going to go to our manager Infomaniac, where we have web hosting called kyoga.ch. And we're going to start from scratch thanks to our assistant. We're going to create Site Creator from scratch. We're going to propose Site Creator, and we'll come back to that, WordPress for intermediate users. And then for people with specific needs or desires, we'll let you choose from over 100 applications to be installed automatically on the web hosting in question. But here we're proposing Site Creator or WordPress. So we'll take Site Creator and we'll continue. So here's the tools introductory page. You'll be able to see how it works during this webinar. So we're going to create our site. And here, right from the start, we have hundreds and hundreds of themes that we can select from with a theme, or rather a specific subject. So we have the business version, the business card version, which is quite popular these days. City, society, then banking. There's a whole lot of stuff. The themes are divided into categories. So when you want to launch your business, you're already in a position, just by using the search bar and the categories, to pick a theme that you'll have to modify in a very basic way, i.e., if you already have, let's take the cosmetics example. If you want to launch a cosmetics business, you'll already have the theme, the skeleton of the site in place, and all you'll have to do is change the content and images, but the navigation and presentation logic will be taken over by a theme. We're going to use this one, the blank theme, and you have two options. Either preview it to give you an idea of what the theme looks like before applying it to the site, or select it, since we're going to get straight to the heart of the matter. So once the theme is selected, we validate.
During installation, the automatic deployment of the site, I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about WordPress and Site Creator. When you create a new website, you're faced with a new question. Do I go for WordPress, which is the most widely used tool in the world for creating a site? Or do I use Site Creator, which is much easier and quicker to learn? To simplify this dilemma a little, I'm going to give you 3 questions you can ask yourself. The first question is, how much time do you have? If you don't have a lot of time, Site Creator will be a much better choice. If you're computer literate, then Site Creator will be much simpler and more immediate. And then, what's the purpose and content of your site? This is really the most important question to ask yourself. Because if you have a showcase site with an online store and a blog, Site Creator will go much faster and be much simpler for you. I'd say WordPress is recommended only if you want to create a complex project such as a learning management system or a French language training site. Or maybe you need a members area that manages users with differentiated rights. This is where WordPress comes into its own, because you're dealing with a complex site that needs to be customizable with highly flexible variables. Another reason why you might want to use WordPress is if you want to create a community site, for example with a forum featuring a lot of interaction between members. A final situation in which WordPress might be more advisable is if you want to retain complete control of the site and want to be able to redeploy it elsewhere, for example with another host. For all other cases, Site Creator will be much easier, faster, and more secure. As Adrian was saying, unlike WordPress, Infomaniac takes care of security from start to finish. There's no theme update, no extension update, no WordPress update to do. Infomaniac takes care of everything. You concentrate on the content and final look of the website. And you'll be able to sell products, even information products. And the tool really does meet 95% of needs. The site is finished, so I hand over to Adrian, who gets back to the heart of the matter.
Thank you. Now the site has been created, so the skeleton has been created with the theme we selected earlier, but the important thing is that the domain name hasn't yet been linked, which means that if you buy a domain name, when you order your web hosting on which you're going to use Site Creator, the people who may type in the domain name because they've heard about it, or perhaps you've told them what the domain name would be, they won't yet see the site. We'll wait for you to give us the go-ahead to say, okay, now we're going to link the domain name you've bought with this temporary address, which theoretically you're the only one to have. You can of course share it, but this will be your temporary address on which you'll edit the site to start with.
So if you already have a WordPress site, for example, in production, you can create your site with Site Creator in total peace of mind, and you only put it online when you're satisfied and happy.
That's right. Where on a WordPress or other technologies, you really have to go to the code level or even go to a specific interface. There, everything you see, everything you can click on, you can modify. One feedback we had from typical WordPress users was always this difficulty of, I've just imported an image, I'll have to reload in the other tab or even go to another device, typically mobile, tablet, which has a different screen size to see how it reacts. The advantage here is that you don't have to go through all those verification steps because you're looking at all the modifications. This shows us that you can save changes, so if you type in something, you must of course validate the change or cancel it. An extremely important function and one of the pillars of Site Creator is the ability to go back. So if you've spent dozens of minutes, even hours on your site, and all of a sudden you're thinking, gee, I'm going off on the wrong track, perhaps in terms of visual identity or photos, you really do have a feature that's a bit like a text editor where you can do a Z command, Z control, go backwards, and then even go forwards again. In other words, if you perhaps want to compare the state of the site as it was before your modifications, you can go back to Instant T and then return to the present version. And that's really your final validation saying, okay, now I want to publish this version of the site, which means that the final site is modified for your visitors too. Here's the change button, so you can undo or go back to the changes you've just undone. Let's get to the heart of the matter. This is the theme we selected at the beginning, so it's already going to give us a skeleton, so it's going to show us the name of the company we've obviously invited you to modify, some sample text to give us an idea of where we can add text, and it's already given us typical modules like the contact module and the location module for the company we represent.
So what happens if I want to build my own yoga website?
So do we start with images or text? Here we go, here we go. We'll do the text because when it comes to the text, we've got a little surprise for you. We're going to cheat. So we're going to cheat because we're not very imaginative today, and we're going to use KChat and the KChat bot. So there's the artificial intelligence which is integrated into KChat, KChat which is present in the K-Suite. And so the KChat bot, it's an artificial intelligence home made by Infomaniac, and it can actually help you with your everyday tasks. And we're going to use it to create our text because we don't really have an imagination.
Exactly. Imagination. So it's a completely sovereign alternative to ChatGPT, managed end-to-end on Infomaniac's servers. So in terms of privacy protection, it's a big plus compared to ChatGPT, which transits through the United States. After all, KChat is an alternative to Slack or Teams that enables instant exchanges between employees within a company.
Let's start by saying hello to our KChat bot who writes, "Hi, I'm here to help you. How can I help you today?" Then we'll explain that we're in the process of creating a website. We're creating a website and we need an introductory text for the home page. So that's it. So, an introductory text. Here are some ideas to inspire you. Welcome to our site. It's a yoga site.
And I'd like to take this opportunity to answer the question about cookie management and the RGPD and the new Swiss data protection law. Of course, Site Creator handles it natively.
We're already going to select the text. So
We'll
when it comes
change
to
it here.
editing the text, there are several ways to do this. First, of course, we can manage the content and we'll be able to define the font type. First of all, you can manage the content and you can define the font type, the font itself, but also afterwards the italic or bold text, or if you want to insert hyperlinks. And if you want to go further, you can also change the text color. Then, in the options, which are really much more comprehensive, you can set the way you want the text to be aligned, highlighted, and so on.
It's really very intuitive. Most of the time, when you want to modify an element, you bring your mouse close to the element and click. And that's all it takes to understand what happens next.
We'll take the first sentence, which we'll put on the site, simply copy and paste. So here you can see that I've copied and pasted my text. If I want to change the justification, the way it's displayed, that happens here. We'll leave it like this, justified on the left. I can also increase the font size. I'll leave it like that, it seems quite elegant. If, let's say, I want to change the font, that happens here. We've got a pretty impressive collection of fonts. So really, whatever style you're looking for your website, there's plenty to do.
As for fonts, I'd like to make a simple recommendation. I don't recommend that you change it manually on a case-by-case basis, and we'll see about that later. To modify fonts so that your sites are consistent, it's done from the theme. That way, you're sure to have the same font throughout your site. Unless you're in a very artistic field, it's best to have the same font throughout all pages. That way, you change it in one place for the whole website. But it can be done on a case-by-case basis, as Adrian shows.
Once I've made my changes, whether it's the font size or the content, I validate the modification, and then I return to the home page, where I can select something else to change. Now we're going to change the image. As soon as I put the cursor over it, it highlights the element I'm going to change. A button appears, offering me to choose an image. Here, we're going to choose an image, and here I have several options. There are images already integrated into the theme. There are also images that you've stored. Next, we can download a file from our machine. And here, I'm going to take files that are in my drive. So you can see I'm on Mac OS. In my Finder, I have my K drive installed. And here, I'd already prepared, like anyone who's going to create a website. And I'm going to take, so we're just going to change the display so that it shows me this a little more. I will take this image here. So here, I've loaded the image. And here I already have, in fact, 2 or 3 options. I have an image editor, so I can edit the image, resize it, rotate it, change the color temperature. So if, let's say, you've got an image that's perhaps coming out of your camera, or you might want to reduce its size, you can do that directly from Site Creator. No need to use any other software. Again, in terms of customization, you can decide how you want it displayed on the site's homepage. This means you could have a shadow. On the right, you can see that this has changed. The rounded corners have disappeared in favor of a shadow. It's quite a subtle change. We're going to stick with the rounded corners, but you really do have all these options. After that, you can also decide that an image should be Indian. If you want to make a button an image, you can also check off this button here and point it to a specific URL or to another page on the site. We'll leave it at that for now. You can see that the image has been modified, that the change has been applied to the whole site, and you can of course always come back to make changes to it. Now in terms of how the site works, as you can see, as soon as I move my cursor, there are blocks. Here we're on the home block. This large block, delimited by this blue border, is the whole block that includes text, buttons and images. But if I go down to my website, there's another much smaller block, and that's the contact block. The point of this block logic is that at the time, or on other solutions, you had to modify this by hand, either in plugins or in fairly advanced configurations, or even in the code. Here, if my contact information is at the very bottom of the page, nothing could be simpler. I click on this button to move the block. There are two options. Either I scroll with my mouse, or I press the space key if I'm on a trackpad or portable machine and move it to the very bottom. And there you have it. I can do exactly the same with the map. Here I can move it and put it wherever I want on the site. And this block logic also applies to the content you can add. Site Creator really does feature a collection of content that you can simply drag and drop onto your site. When you click on the content button, you have several types of content. We've already categorized them for you if you want to add banners, header content, objects, calls to action, social networks. But here, we'll stick to content. And as you can see in this gallery, we've already pre-formatted banners for you to insert into your site. Exactly. So now, by clicking on the module, it will be added to the very top of my website. And there I already have a button called Settings. That's it, just from the block. I'll go to it. There I really only have all the parameters for the block. So what I'm about to change concerns only the block I've just added, which will then move to the site level. First, I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to select an image, upload a document. And here I'm going to take this illustration here, which is on my drive. Perfect, the image is there. I'll add a little more contrast. A parallax effect. That's very nice. The parallax effect is when the user navigates around the site, the more they go up or down the site, the more the image changes angle too. So afterwards we have all these parameters. We can add shadow to the text or more obvious block separators. And we'll stick with the basic Site Creator package.
For those who also like to have these very minimalist effects, such as can be found on the Apple site, for example, to have sections that take up the entire height of a page. Here, as we've seen before, it's just a checkbox, and here Adrian is asking KChat for a quote that prompts action.
Above all, where KChatbot is really extremely useful in everyday life is that it understands context. So now I've just asked him for a text explaining the benefits of yoga and why it's essential to sign up. And I specify that this message must be relatively short. So where before I'd asked him for a text, he'd done a relatively long one, really putting a justification, an argument in it. Now he's given me several much shorter texts, which I can put on the site afterwards.
And the great advantage of KChat's integrated AI solution is that, apart from being sovereign, it's not limited. That means you're not limited in terms of credit, it's unlimited. Whereas ChatGPT, which is also integrated with KChat, is limited to its prompt per day.
So here, once again, I'm back on the text editor, where I've been able to paste the text as proposed to KChatbot. So now I have two options. Either I really highlight it and it'll be bold, like this. Then, let's say, I want to remove the home banner. I can also delete it if I want to. Here, this part here, I can also delete it if I don't need it. There you go. Here and here. The home page, I'm going to do the same thing. Delete. All that's left is this bold, highlighted text. And you can see that when I scroll down the page, the parallax effect unties the scroll of the page from the scroll of the image. It's a beautiful effect. And here again, I can take it and drag it at any time or anywhere else on my site. We'll leave it here because it's quite elegant. So now, in just a few minutes, we've got our image, our text, and a beautiful page that mobile users, tablets, PCs, Macs, and others can visit, and it looks really professional.
I think we had the team presentation next, with our 2 master yogi coaches.
Exactly. And we have several team modules. So we have modules where there are 4 people in different ways, or you can also go to content. That's what we'll choose. So in terms of designs, we've got everything. We have those with a large image, but with text that's a little smaller and mostly delimited in a dialog window. And here we're going to start with this one, which I really like. So here it is. I've just added it. It appears at the very top of my site. Let's move it. We'll put it under the very inspiring quote that Cat Chatbot found for us. No configuration required. I simply come to my image, as we did with the very first one. Image settings, choose an image, upload file. And now, in my drive, I've already created a folder called Team, and we're going to put in our team. We'll start with Sarah. We're going to define the image design, because of course you might want to have a square shape for the image, or on the contrary, completely different shapes. That's really up to you. It's all about the design you want on the site. We're going for a 3/4 design, and even with the filters, typically we wanted to put them in a frame. At one time, it would have been a lot of work to add it before importing it into the site. Now, with one click, you have a frame. You can also redefine the image as a link, and there you have it. I'll take my second image, again from my drive. And here, I'm going to take a photo of our colleague Yannick. I use the same shape in a frame, and there we are. The speed of operation is quite impressive in the sense that we already have a skeleton with a site that's presentable in a few minutes.
That's the great thing about a tool like this compared to WordPress. Even though WordPress is very powerful and I personally like it a lot, Site Creator really does go a lot faster. And all you have to do is really concentrate on the content, and the technical side really disappears. Because what Adrian didn't show was that the 2 images had different sizes and formats. And thanks to these drop-down menus, we have the 2 yoga teachers at the same height in terms of images. Nothing had to be done, that's right, and they're perfectly centered. There's no need to crop. It all happened automatically.
And when it comes to loading the page, even if the image formats are different, if someone comes to visit your site, they won't have a longer loading time or anything.
So after, the recommendation would always be to compress them with online tools. If you type into your search engine, tools image compression, it'll never hurt. It's always faster to load.
So there I was able to put the text as KChatbot suggested. At any time, if you have a new team member, you can resume editing the module. If you have photos to change in the new year, you want to update the photos, it's really ultra fast. It's just a few clicks. I insist on this because one of the fears of people who have WordPress sites or sites that have been created from start to finish is the notion of updating it. And there's always this fear of I'm going to update it myself instead of the professional who took care of it, and I'm going to break everything. Or you'll have to ask an IT professional to update it. In this case, given the ease of use and the fact that updating a photo is literally a matter of a few clicks, it goes really fast. So now we've got our team. As for the modules, there are several ways to edit them. You can either edit the resource directly, i.e. the image by modifying it, or the text by clicking on it, or you can edit a module directly. So here we come to the actual module settings, and here this module setting will suggest an address, and we'll put Praille in Geneva. Save changes, the site reloads, and now for all visitors, they'll see that our location, our studio, is in La Praille. You can also change the design. Here he made it monochrome, so he changed the colors on it. Exactly.
It depends on the identity
you want to give the site.
But with this simple
button,
you can vary the
actually
themes
vary
used.
the theme as you said.
So here we have the map
So here
module.
we have the map
Maybe
module.
we'll change the
Maybe
name.
we'll change the name.
Something more elegant than the company name.
Put something more elegant
Absolutely.
than the company name.
There you go.
Absolutely. Now, when we click on the site header, we'll have several settings available. We'll have the logo and website editor, menu editor, social networks in the header. You can also integrate direct links to your social networks in the form of icons, sub-page order, that's for organization, or add a page. But here we're interested in the logo and site type.
You mouse over the menu and everything is in the right place. With WordPress, you have to go to the main WordPress menu yourself. Go to Appearances, Menu. It's less intuitive. For someone who really isn't an internet connoisseur at all, Site Creator is going to be a lot easier to tame.
Exactly. So here you can see that I've already updated the website logo, and basically it's going to let us choose between the name or the logo. But in our case, to do something a little more precise, we're going to display both, and it's a simple button to display the title of the logo and the website. So if I check here, we'll see Kyoga displayed here.
What if we want to take our Master Yogi with us? Tak.
We come here. And voila, the logo is integrated.
So you can have the logo as a picto and the text. It's hard text. That way people see it instantly.
And the extremely important point is that this logo will then be used in the tabs. In tab management, in other words, for those in the know, you don't have to use favicon. Here, as an editor, we keep the Site Creator tab with the Site Creator logo. But later we'll be able to test it in private browsing. This is the little logo we've just added here.
Yeah, when people bookmark the site or put it on the home screen of a cell phone, they see your logo.
Here it is, and not the Creator Site logo. So there you go. In just a few clicks, you've just edited the site name. Now we can go back to the settings. You can also configure the way the logo is presented with a menu editor. The settings are really quite advanced. You can go very far in terms of personalization. So here, on the site itself, you'll be able to define the way you want to present your logo. Pages. We've got some one-page enthusiasts, i.e. people who absolutely want all their content on a single page. So if you want to create blog posts on a single page, we'd have to add the blog module to content. In our case, we're going to create a new page directly. Then we go to settings.
That's fine. We'll find out how the menu works and how to add new pages.
Here goes. I've just created a page called blog. It will automatically appear in the navigation, so you don't have to go to the trouble of adding a button with code parameters. It appears right here, and this page will start with an About module, which you can delete if you like, and we'll come over here. So what could we add to our page in the application? Of course, in the application. Hop blog.
Maybe it's worth showing the list of applications a little longer. Yes, because applications are a bit like additional modules, and that's where you'll find photo galleries, menus for restaurants, the map we saw before with the MapMond. You can also create personalized forms to collect information or registrations. Really, there are lots and lots and lots and lots of things. We'll also see an online reservation system later on. And it's really here that you'll be able to enrich the blog's functionalities, notably with the online store, which we'll see more about later.
There are also key functionalities for certain activities. I'm thinking of the restaurant menu. For all restaurateurs, you can really have a restaurant menu that adapts. You can put in your menu, you can edit the items in the menu afterwards, and it's displayed on all devices. Typically on mobile devices if you have QR codes for people coming to your restaurant. Perfect. So here we have the blog module with our first post called Bonjour à tous, and clicking on it takes us to an article. Here's an example, which in fact already has a skeleton. This is to make things easier for you. So here we're going to take an image. We'll take this image. Here. Next we'll name the article. The benefits of yoga. Then we'll ask KChat to write us a text.
Exactly, and for all those who don't yet have a website, use the blog to share your expertise, to develop your authority with your customers and generate leads, redirecting them to your newsletter, for example, and then you can offer them additional content in PDF format, for example, and that generates leads for you automatically. A blog is a really excellent way of keeping in touch with your customers and prospects. And what's more, it's really easy to create articles with Site Creator. Of course, people can also post comments. And when people reply, they're notified by email. So all that's taken care of. And maybe it's worth showing the little extra, what it can do for the layout.
Absolutely. So the little extra allows you to have a tab at the level of your article. if you're writing relatively long articles, you can add a tab to help the user find his way around and navigate within the article. So here, we'll take the text that KChatBot was kind enough to create. This is it. And now, if I click outside the text zone, I'll see that I'm starting a new tab. And I can move this tab in the order of the article.
The blogging principle also applies here. Absolutely. And can I add images or elements to my blog post? For example, by clicking on this plus sign on the left.
Which appears from the left. Exactly. So here, by clicking on plus, you'll get the editing menu and you'll actually be able to edit an image
Same
too.
paintings.
Exactly.
And then I draw your attention to heading. It's a term, a jargon that may not mean much to the uninitiated, but it's very important. This is what you're going to use to create headings, and it's important for your website's SEO to include the keywords you want to rank for in the search engines. That's why I'm drawing your attention to it, because for those who aren't used to building a website, it's not necessarily something you're going to use spontaneously.
The equally important element of adding content, here we've really made a presentation for neophytes, for people who are just starting out and who'd like to make a website. But for any advanced user who would like to integrate code, perhaps a resource from an external site, whether it's IT solutions or even something completely different, you can integrate code into your pages directly. Here, in the article management area, you can save the draft or publish it. In our case, we're going to publish it directly, but it allows you to manage several draft articles for the time being. Maybe you're not finished yet, or maybe you need to fine-tune the layout, and that's managed here directly. There you have it. So, my blog post is created, it's formatted, it's ready to read. And if we go back to our blog page, it's already formatted and it's going to sort in chronological order or the order of your choice, because you can set that, the articles you're going to create on your site.
And can you modify the blog's appearance? For example, display it as a grid or something like that?
Absolutely. Here we go to Manage a Module. And we'll have settings where you can define that in gray, directly, the number of articles per page, because we want you to have lots of articles on your blog. And you can define the number that will appear before it's a pagination, the sorting order, most recent article. That's the basic module, the image ratio 2, in short. It's really quite advanced. Here, as Thomas mentioned, you can enable or disable comments. There are some users who aren't interested in comments. And if you have comments, you can also disable email notifications. Extremely important for comments, we ensure that the people who write to you are real people and not robots, so there's a verification image that's enabled as standard. In other words, anyone leaving a comment has to do one of these quick riddles to make sure it's a real person.
Let's take a look at the online store.
Here, in the creation of a new page, I wanted to show you the advanced settings, because basically you're simply asked to add a page, which is then added to the top right-hand corner of the site. But then in the advanced settings, you can already define a theme and again a skeleton for the page. This means you can define it as a home page, which we already have. Photo gallery, blog, contact us. It'll use the information entered on the creator site. Afterwards, you can also copy and duplicate to perhaps make a duplicate to make a new test page. Above all, you can define whether or not to display this page. In other words, you yourself can have secret pages in quotation marks, typically if you're working on a redesign for your salon or yoga club. Here we are on our brand new page, which has been added to the top right-hand corner of our navigation. So we have a tab called Shop, and now we're going to move on to the applications, and we have an application called Boutique. Here I've created my Shop module, which will pre-create 3 products to facilitate their integration. Let's say I want to create, or rather modify, my first product. I arrive on this page where we see the skeleton of the presentation, an image, a title, a description, a price, and the possibility for visitors to your site to add it to their shopping cart. Now we're going to modify this product, and I'll be able to edit this product only. Let's start with a yoga mat field. What do you think? Red XXL yoga mat, and we'll ask for a description.
I didn't specify. To take advantage of Site Creator, all you need is web hosting or a managed cloud server from Infomaniac. It's included free with the product, and you'll see it in fact as soon as you add a website. It's offered to you to make a site with Site Creator.
So we asked KChatBot to create a description text for a red XXL yoga mat, telling him to specify why it's very comfortable. And he came up with a wonderful text. So when it comes to editing text, you'll find the same capabilities as on the rest of the designer sites. You can bold the text, So this is the descriptive text, and if you keep scrolling, you can add a product image. This is our file upload module. And in my drive, I've created a shop folder where, as luck would have it, I've uploaded my XXL red yoga mat. This is the product image. You can put several of them. We can put a gallery. Here, we'll stick to a single image. And then here's the serious part of the sale. That's product pricing. So we'll decide to sell it for 15 francs. And we can, for example, put a normal price and a discount price to show customers that there's a discount. Then, at the point of sale, you can decide whether or not to apply VAT. And afterwards,
All
you can
VAT,
decide whether or
currency,
not to apply
etc. can be
VAT at the point of
customized in the
sale.
shop module.
Exactly. And also in relation to the country of the person visiting the site. And here we really get to the heart of the matter at shop level. You have stock management and weight management to help you manage your inventory. You'll be able to select a category and then get statistics on sales. For example, I don't know, the carpet category will work extremely well, but maybe the blood category won't work as well. Here, we'll be able to define a weight. We'll say who weighs 2 kilos. And then you can also define an order of priority. If you have a very large shop, you can define the order in which things are displayed so that perhaps your products are displayed at the very top of the site. And then you have your inventory management. So you can give a number to the item. So if you have barcodes or really manage your store, you can give a number to find it afterwards in your inventory management. A barcode will also be generated based on the information you've entered and the quantity in stock. The quantity in stock is extremely important to avoid selling more time. If you know you have 15, you put 15 in stock, and Site Creator will already manage the stock with the orders that have been validated and automatically put the product out of stock when you've reached that limit. And then for people who might be selling courses or online training, you can put in a downloadable product. So there, if it's not about an object, you can put a PDF, a zip, a video file, a video, anything inside. And it's the person, your customer, when they've actually finished the purchasing process, who'll get the download in question. So we're all set. We'll save the changes. And you can see that my yoga mat has just appeared. And now I'm going to update. And here's the complete description with the properties I've given it in terms of text formatting, my image, the price, and the possibility of adding it to the shopping cart. As for customizing the store, this is done in the module. In the same place as for adding an item, you have the configuration. First of all, you can define the name of your store. You can also define a default country, and it's the default country that will predefine the VAT depending on your configuration. Default currency. Typically, if you're in Switzerland and you want to set prices in euros or dollars, you can. All currencies are available here. You can change the currency prefix. Really, when it comes to customization, it goes a long way. You can also choose the price display format. Display the full price, even if rounded. That's up to you to decide on your sales policy. You can decide to display or hide the quantity of products. To perhaps you can also display the product code or reference number and the sorting order. You can also display the product code or reference and the sorting order. You can let the person do the sorting themselves or not. Default weight unit, everything can really be managed here. And then, in terms of payment methods, it's obviously extremely important to be able to manage the payment methods used. You can activate or deactivate some of them. Afterwards, you can define whether or not to allow bank deposit or payment on delivery. After that, payment is handled by payment platforms. Neither Infomaniac nor your customer's banking information will manage this. You can also define several delivery options for your customers. In other words, if you're doing a standard shipment, you can display it as such, a standard shipment, or if you want a premium option with extremely fast shipment, you can create a premium option. You'll put in the delivery time your customer can expect, the delivery charges which will be added automatically at checkout, and the description. And extremely important too, you can enter the delivery charge per unit of weight. This is very important. Typically in Switzerland, with the post office, the price of a parcel is defined by its weight. And here, as we saw earlier when setting up a product, you can define its weight. In other words, if someone were to pick up 5 yoga mats weighing 200 grams, the order would weigh 1 kilo, and the delivery charges would automatically be displayed for a 1 kilo order. In other words, at checkout, you'll never have someone who has ordered extremely heavy items, but who has to pay the bare minimum for delivery. And here you can limit the delivery locations depending on your situation. If you're delivering things yourself, you can say, well, such and such a country, such and such an area, I don't cover it. After that, we're really going for an optimal shopping experience. Here you can already define which emails your customers receive. In other words, if you receive a new order from a customer, you can send them an automatic email to thank them with a message subject. This way you can define whether or not you want the purchase number, the shop name, or the item name to be displayed, and then you can personalize your email, so the content of the email is up to you. In fact, we've already taken the variables your customer will enter when placing an order. In other words, when your customer places an order, he'll obviously have to enter his first and last name to make the purchase. And in the personalized email we propose, we've already included headings like first name, which will take the information entered by the customer. This way, you can make sure that the personalized email sent to your customers always bears the first or last name of your family, as you wish. And these are emails that you can define at any time during the purchasing and delivery process. You can also create a personalized email if an order status changes. When the order is processed, you can send an email at that point. And then, on the store's homepage, you have several ways of organizing it. But to sum up, the settings really go a long way. Whatever your activity, whether you sell very small items or relatively heavy ones, when it comes to delivery, exactly. And that's it. Exactly. Training too. That's what the shop is for. So let's go back to our homepage, because this is where we're going to put our reservations management module. And here, as you can see, are all the modifications we've made. The blog and shop are displayed here. And if we want to add our reservations module, we'll go to the application. Et on, integration with Calendly. And that's it, which will go here. Tac. That's it then. So for the moment it's displaying an error. What's the problem? Because it's linked in fact to an external service, Calendly, and you need to set up your Calendly calendar first. So we've already prepared a URL, that's it. Kyoga webinar. We'll click on Save Changes. And automatically any visitor to your website will be able to book the appointments you've made selectable. So here we've made 2 appointments. A 60-minute individual lesson or a 60-minute group lesson. And if the person clicks to accept their individual lesson, they'll be taken to a booking page. Or you can define your own open slots. So here we've set working hours from Monday to Saturday. But if you work from Wednesday to Sunday, it's perfectly possible to set this up. And with this system, you can already charge the person at the time of booking. And above all, it allows you to have these appointments appear in your private calendar, telling you who's coming and whether or not the person has already paid. And it prevents other people who come afterwards from seeing this slot as open. The great thing about this module is that, let's say I make a reservation for tomorrow, the 7th, and it's the only reservation available for the day. It will then disappear from the calendar as being available. And you in fact are freed from all the administrative management of your diary. And everything is done directly on your...
Can you show us what happens in terms of tracking with Matomo, Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager? That's perfectly integrated too. It's in the settings.
We have SEO and metadata twice. Why is that? Because you can manage SEO and metadata on a per page basis or at site level, where some alternatives like WordPress sometimes require you to set this up on each page. Here we can do it directly for you. But here, if we take it to the whole website, we'll find the meta descriptions.
It's really important to come here when you're creating a website, because this is what will appear in the search engines when someone types in your website. So it's important to include the title of your site, and above all, the keywords on which you want to be referenced. Here's a little tip. If you're in the yoga business, for example, and you offer yoga classes in the Acacias district of Geneva, don't hesitate to localize your activity. For example, this could be for us, Kyoga, the best studio for your yoga classes in Les Acacias, Geneva. That way, when people type yoga classes in Acacias, Geneva into their search engine, you're almost sure to be in the first 2 natural search results.
Then, on the contrary, if you don't want your site to be indexed, you can directly edit the robots.txt file, which, normally editable, must be edited by hand, but here we let you edit it directly.
And where Adrian is scrolling, this is where you'll integrate the tracking code delivered by your analysis tool. This is also where you can insert the Open Graph image. It's a bit technical, but basically, when you copy and paste the web address of your website onto a social network, an image comes automatically, and that's the Open Graph image. So really, everything is pre-prepared. There's even the Facebook pixel for those of you who advertise on Facebook ads. So really, everything is simplified. All you need to know is to be curious, then go to the settings menu, and you'll find all the information you need.
You can also integrate your social networks directly from this page. Then, instead of having to enter the URL every time, you can simply put the button, for example, Facebook, YouTube, or whatever, depending on what you've selected. In fact, everything is set up here, including the contact details. Once you modify them here, they'll be repeated in all the modules you load with this information. You can also automate the information banner for cookies. So there's no need for any specific development or plugin. You can activate it with a site with a customizable message and a privacy policy of your choice.
I think it's important to show the Design tab. If you want to change the font or text size, we really recommend you do it here to keep consistency throughout your website and save you changing the font for every block and text you have.
Exactly. Here at the font level, we can see that a preview of the entire website is displayed. Now we can define a font. We can see that font number 1, the one used for bold or relatively large titles, has been modified. And font number 2, we're going to switch to serif and see that everything has been modified throughout the site. The same goes for colors. If you'd like to change the mood or perhaps implement a theme in a really simple way on your site, you'll find color palettes here.
It's a really intuitive tool. It takes you maybe 30 minutes of clicking all over the place, and then you know a little bit where to look for what, and it becomes really fun to make your website.